All right, and again, today we're focusing on the response toolbar. I'm going to just navigate the supervisor studies. All right, I'm going to be using my March webinar study and choose questions. I am using Chrome today, and for all of my demonstrations, I mostly use Chrome. But a lot of the teams, a lot of the coding teams are using IE11 and IE10, and you know, reporting success with Ascribe Coder as well. So I'm going to actually go into Q8 and choose Ascribe Coder. And again, since I'm in Chrome, I'm not seeing review responses, I'm not seeing code this question, and I'm not seeing phrase analyzer. I would have to use an IE browser to access those tools. Okay, so now here we are in Ascribe Coder, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the layout of the screen and then go over the actual tools on the response side. So again, Ascribe Coder is based on review responses. Our codebook is on the right side of the screen. Nets are in bold. Codes are kind of tucked in under the nets. So, and then above the codebook, we have our codebook toolbar and the ability to unlock and lock the codebook. I'll talk about those items more when we talk about the codebook toolbar in the codebook toolbar webinar. On the left side of the screen, this is where we're going to return our responses. And at the top of the response pane, we do have our response toolbar. The first thing here to the left of the response toolbar is our navigation icon. As we rewrite the Ascribe tools, you're going to find that navigation is actually accomplished by clicking on navigation icon. And that navigation icon allows us to navigate to other areas of Ascribe. Okay. Below the response pane and the codebook pane is our question pane. The question pane is at the bottom of the screen. And this resizer bar allows us to resize that question pane. Excuse me, I've been fighting a cold, so I just needed to take a little drink there. Okay, so the question pane just gives us information about the question. We can actually minimize that question pane by clicking on the the button on the resizer bar, the toggle button on the resizer bar. So you can leave this closed or open, depending on what you prefer. All right. So now, also on the response side, you'll notice we have two tabs. We have our multi-response tab and our single response tab. The multi-response tab is actually the mode that I work in the most, so I will be in multi-response mode today. Now to actually get to what we've scheduled to talk about, the tools in the response pane toolbar. The first tool is, of course, our search tool. And notice when I hover over the tools, if there's a shortcut for them, that will show me the shortcut. So Control-S is a shortcut for bringing up your search responses dialog box. The search responses dialog box works like our expression tester in review responses, for those of you that use review responses. And to make it work like the expression tester, you need to turn on or toggle on the regular expression option here. Okay. First thing that I want to point out is some of the basic searches. The show only box, when it's blank, that means that you're returning responses that are both coded or uncoded. There's no restriction on whether they're coded or uncoded. It's showing all of them. Okay, so this shows both coded and uncoded. If I'm just interested in my uncoded responses, then I'll say show only uncoded, and it'll bring up my uncoded responses. If I'm interested in those responses that have any code applied, or the coded responses, it'll bring up my coded responses. So if I hit go, you'll see that it does, in fact, bring up all my coded responses. Okay? So I wanted to make sure I went over that. There are some other options for returning responses with certain codes selected, and if I have time, I'll go over those a little more at the end. Also in our search, again, if we want to search for regular expression type search, maybe I want to search for the word static. It'll bring up all my responses that have the word static, and really I want my uncoded that say static. There we go. So now it's brought up everybody who had static, but maybe I wanted to bring up the people that say static or hair. So now it's bringing up the people that say static or hair. Note that when you search, it does highlight the word in red that you've searched for unless it's part of a regular expression. Okay? And today, again, I'm not going into great detail on the search right now. I want to get through all of the tools up here, and then we can come back to the search. And we do cover the search a little more in the regular expression webinar that we're doing as well. Okay, so we also have this option for a single respondent search. And actually, for the single respondent search, I want to go into my shared code books. Notice that my Q11 is shared across 6 questions, or 7 questions actually. Let me just see real quick. Okay. So when I do a single respondent search, it's actually going to bring up, and I probably don't want to search for static hair. There we go. When I do a single respondent search, what we're doing is bringing up, we're doing one respondent at a time across shared code books. So I'm seeing respondent 10,001, and I'm seeing that respondent's answer to Q11 under bar 1 and Q11 under bar 2. Again, that is because I'm bringing in responses from my shared code books. Okay, so this little question mark icon is my from shared code books icon, and it tells me my response source. Where do I want to pull my responses from? And I have the ability to pull responses from any question that shares this code book. All right, and I can move those over. Well, probably want to move it that way. I can move them over, remove them, and say, you know what, really today I'm only interested in Q11, Q11 under bar 1, 11 under bar 2, and 11 under bar 6. And hit OK. And I hit my search again, and it's going to bring up my next my next respondent. Okay? Again, that is the single respondent search. So let me go back and do a new search for all my uncoded responses. And hit go. There we go. All right. So now I've brought up all my uncoded. And let's say that I want to just bring up those guys that said wall. So now I've brought up everybody that said Walgreens or Walmart. And let's say that within these guys, I want to select any respondents that also said store. I hit store. And notice that it goes through and selects all of my responses that had wall or store. So we've got both search in current and select in current. So that when we've done a search and we want to find something more specific within that search, we can either select the more specific things or just return the more specific things. And when you just return them, they're not selected automatically. Okay? So those are the four types of searches we can do: new search, single respondent search, searching current responses, and selecting current responses. Okay, all of those are available for us. Okay. We also have a replace tab in our search responses, and the replace allows us to find and replace words. And we can do it for the translation, the transcription, and the notes field. And if you've got verbatim editing turned on at your account level, you can also search and replace in the verbatim. And you have some options to match case and match whole word as well. Okay? And then we have an inconsistency search, which allows us to go through our coded verbatims and look for any inconsistencies. So I am telling it now that I want to show any responses with inconsistent coding matching those responses by verbatim. And it'll go through, and there are no inconsistencies in my coding today. This is an awesome tool if you've got multiple people coding on a study and you're not using code duplicates. It will tell you any exact text match verbatim that were coded inconsistently. Okay? And that's all on our Search Responses tab. So let me go ahead and do another uncoded responses search. I probably should do a new search. There we go. Okay, so I've got all my uncoded responses up now. All right. So notice that this little icon next to the search icon, this is our search again option. And it works, there's two things that it can do, okay? When we have pages of responses, so Ascribe Coder will only show us 1,000 responses at a time. The other 18 are paged right now, okay? So if I want to see the second page, I click on Search Again, and it shows me the second page. So it now says 2 of 2. I hit Search Again, and it's going to return my 1,000 responses, the first 1,000, okay? So the Search Again allows us to page through responses when we have more than 1,000 responses. All right? But if there aren't more than 1,000 responses, and I hit Search Again, it's going to just apply my last search. So my last search that was in effect was just to return my uncoded responses. Okay? So it's automatically set to now return my uncoded responses. So what I could do is go through and do some coding, right? And if those guys are good, I hit Search Again, and it automatically brings up just my uncoded. So those 3 guys that I just coded are now no longer in my list. Okay? So the Search Again just allows, it's a quick way to repeat the last search that we've done. All right? Again, that is Search Again. Okay. So now let's talk a little bit about printing verbatims. For printing responses. And with the little print, it's actually a way to save out our responses. And you'll notice that we have a number of options. We can save them to Excel or to Word, in Excel format or Word format. We can save out the selected responses, the displayed responses, all responses for the current questions. So current questions would be the questions that we've selected in our from Shared Codebook tool, all responses for current studies, or responses for selected codes in the codebook, okay? So basically, if I want to say, give me a report for the responses that are showing, it would actually create an Excel export for the responses that are showing. And it's right down here. And what it does is it reports on the things that you have displayed on your screen. And we're getting ready to go over this settings icon here. So in this case, I was showing my question ID, my respondent ID, and my verbatim. So what it's reporting is my question ID, my respondent ID, whether my verbatim was reviewed or not. This little icon is my verbatim reviewed. I know that's one of the things that's a little confusing to some people, but that is always attached to our verbatim. That's why we have a reviewed column here. And then the actual verbatim. Okay? If I wanted to send this to a client, probably what I might want to do would be delete that out, and then I can send this verbatim report for my uncoded responses to the client. Okay. So that's how print works. It's really cool if you need to give somebody a quick report on a search that you've done. You can always bring your responses up and select those that you'd like to report on. But again, if you could do all responses for current questions if you wanted, and again, you can output to Excel or Word. So this report, again, respects those items that you have showing. let's talk a little bit about the response settings. Okay, so one of the cool things about the response settings and what I like about Ascribe Coder is that it shows you what it's going to do when you toggle the option on, okay? And I'll quickly go through these options. The selection checkbox actually allows us, it's something that I overlooked in the beginning, but I found that it is actually helpful to some people that are new to Ascribe Coder. The selection checkbox makes me click on the checkbox to select a response. So if I feel like without the selection checkbox, maybe it's too easy to select something, I'm selecting things inadvertently, what I can do is turn on the selection checkbox, and then to toggle something on or to select a response, I actually have to click the checkbox. I can't, you might not see, I can't click out here to select it. Okay, so that's what the selection checkbox is all about. And again, it has been helpful to some people that feel that it's too easy to just single click to select the verbatim. We're so used to double clicking to select the verbatim that this is a more controlled action to click the checkbox. All right, so that's the selection checkbox. The Apply Selected Codes button, that allows us to do targeted coding, which would mean maybe there's one code that I want to select in the code book, or there's a couple of codes in the code book, and then I can just go through and say, yep, that one gets that, and, you know, I think there's more in here. That one gets that, and so on and so forth. So does that one, and so does that one. So it allows me to target code. And if I select more than one code in my code book, just to kind of make sure you know how that works, it'll apply all the codes that I have selected. And then I call this targeted coding because this looks like a little target here. And that's what the Apply Selected Codes button does. It allows us to do this targeted coding, which basically is select the codes that you'd like to apply when you hit the target. Okay? Coding quality, and I want to make sure I go over this because I've had a few questions about this over the past couple of days. Coding quality turns on the little quality reviewed icon here. In review responses today, when we set something as quality reviewed, it changes the respondent ID. That's been severed. The respondent ID is not just the respondent ID. The color of the respondent ID doesn't mean anything other than you want it to be black or you want it to be red. You can change the respondent ID color here if you like. Okay? The respondent ID color means nothing. The quality reviewed, so let me bring up my coded responses so this makes a little more sense. The quality reviewed option is just that. This guy has been marked quality reviewed. So has this guy, so has this guy. Or I can right-click and select all and say set selected responses quality reviewed. And that is the coding quality reviewed option. Okay? If I look at my verbatim, you'll see that that we have quality reviewed associated with the verbatim, the translation, transcription, and notes. But in this case, it's just the coding quality reviewed that's been toggled on. Okay? And again, that has been something that's come up a little bit over the past couple of days. And that is the coding quality option. So if you're marking things quality reviewed, you probably want that turned on. The next option is to place text on a new line. And I believe it's also a default. So when you do place text on a new line, what it does is puts each item that you're displaying on a new line. So the first line will show you the coding quality reviewed, the question ID, I think the study ID, all the information about the verbatim. And then notice if I turn on translation, transcription, and notes, they're all on their own line. Well, and codes are in their own group. Okay? If I take place text on new line off, everything, all of the verbatim information, including the translation, transcription, and notes, are in one continuous paragraph, and then the actual codes applied are still kind of out here on their own. Okay? So again, that is the place text on new line option. And you can play with it to figure out the way you would like it to look. Let me turn these guys back off now. There we go. All right. Image links, that's just for those of you that might be transcribing images. Drag response to copy coding allows me to actually, let me bring up, it allows me to copy an entire, so if I want to copy the coding from this response to this response, I just drag the response, hit OK, and you'll notice that it applies those codes to this response. Okay? That's drag responses to copy coding. All right. I think the rest of these are kind of self-explanatory: study ID, question ID, respondent ID. And one thing to point out is that the translation, these are the display options. So if I display translation, that's only going to show the translation field if there is a translation. If I want to be able to take translations, then I would turn the translation field on, and it gives me an empty translation field for each of my verbatims. Again, this is to display existing translations. This is to edit translations. All right? So some of us might just want to look at translations that are existing. We're not necessarily making new translations. And the same applies to transcription and notes. All right. Down here, the when starting, this corresponds with question sharing a code book. Okay? So we have this option to automatically bring in question sharing a code book from this current study. So if you always want to bring in your open-ends that share a code book. So if you want to turn on the response source from shared code book, which is what we call in review responses, you would turn these on automatically. And then when you navigate into a question that shares a code book within this study, it would automatically bring in the responses from all the shared code book questions. All right? Cool. The related responses, if you have responses related, you can show them in this screen, and these are just the options that you have for the related responses. The applied codes, you have some control over what you're showing here. The first option here, code duplicates, actually allows us to say whether or not we want the duplicates to be coded. Let me pop back into, pop back over into my shared code book question. There we go. So bring all these guys up, because this shows code duplicates a little better. All right. So I'm in my settings. I'm in my applied code setting, code duplicates. With code duplicates on, if I code one Dixie response, and I'm clicking on the hyperlink to code it, you'll notice that it says last coded 1 because I clicked on 1 to code it, but there were 464 duplicates. So I actually just coded 465 responses because I have code duplicates on. All right? So let me turn these guys off. There we go. Might make the duplicates a little easier to see. So again, if I code one solo, boom, last coded 1, 89 duplicates, and they flash on the screen when they code. Okay? So that's the code duplicates under applied codes. You don't have to turn that on. One thing about code duplicates is that it codes all the duplicates, even if you have a filter on, it codes all the duplicates in that question in your response base, even with a filter on today. So just be aware of that. There's also this option to prompt for confirmation when removing a single code. So that would mean if I hit this little trash can, it's going to tell me, and then I say remove codes. If I don't want it to do that, if I just want to delete Dixie, boom, it deleted them all. All right? The line above, let me code my Dixies again real quick. The line above actually puts a line above your codes. And again, you guys, you can play around with this to get the things that you want. We also have the selection checkbox for the codes if we like. So if we prefer to have to click the box to check the code, then turn on your selection checkbox. The remove code button is this little trash can. So one of the things, the feedback that we got was, hey, I just want to be able to hit delete on my keyboard, or I want an easy way to delete a code. I don't want to have to right-click and hit remove this code. So that remove code button allows you to click on the trash can to remove the code. Okay. You can also show your input ID, your output ID, your username, who coded it, the date it was coded, the coding method, so on and so forth there if you like. And that's the applied codes option. Now, over here in appearance, this code tooltips. Some of you have probably seen this guy. When I turn code tooltips on, anything that I'm not showing, so let's just say that I'm showing my output ID and my input ID. Anything that I'm not showing or displaying here about my code will show up when I hover over my code. So now it's telling me who coded it, when they coded it, and how it was coded. Okay, that's a little annoying to some of us, most of us, I think. So you can turn those code tooltips off. But I did want to just say that these items correspond with what the code tooltip shows. Okay. All right. The logo shows the logo at the bottom of the screen. You can turn that on or off depending on how much screen real estate you want. And then we can actually change the appearance, the font of our responses, our related responses, and our applied codes. You know, you might want your responses in regular font and your codes in bold. Totally up to you how you do that. And of course, you can change your respondent ID as well. All right. So it looks like we've got 10 more minutes. I want to talk quickly about filters and sorting and the word list, and then open the floor for questions. So the filters and sorting, anytime we have a filter or a sort in place, we do have access to the filters and sorting box by just clicking on, you know, here, sorted, and it opens up sorting for us. Okay? We can filter, so all of our review option filters that are in review responses are available here, plus some more. So we can filter for responses with translation or without, with transcription or without, with notes or without. So this is an easy way to bring up just the responses with notes if we like. We also have our quality reviewed filter. So if we want to bring up responses that are marked quality reviewed or not marked quality reviewed, we have that option. Same for verbatim reviewed, translation reviewed, transcription reviewed, and notes reviewed, for any of you that might use those. Our question filter is here under questions change. So if I want to set a question filter, I can do that using my question change. So if I want to filter on my purchase intent, top two box, and hit OK. To set my filter, what I'd want to do is hit search again. Oh, I'm in the wrong question for this filter, but that's okay. Go back over here. La-di-da-da. Ascribe coder. Search again. And you'll see it says it's filtered, and it's filtered by Q75, definitely would buy, and probably would buy. So any filters that we have set are displayed right here when we click on our little filter icon. If you are having trouble returning something, you're like, those responses should come up, come in here and clear your filter and search again. So you can quickly clear all of your filters. Again, this is our questions filter that we have in review responses at the bottom of our page there. Also, we have this multiple response search. This is only viable to the multiple response tab. We can search by coding method, manual, automatic, ACM, or inspector. We can also search by a date for responses coded between a certain date, and we can do our coded by search. And we can set, you know, one or two or all of these if we like. Okay, so that's our filters. In our sorting, we have a ton of ways to sort our responses today. You can sort by respondent ID, question ID, verbatim length, and we have two options. Most of the time, I'm sorting by verbatim length, and then by verbatim and not in reverse sort. So that way, when I hit search again, my responses are now sorted by verbatim links, as you can see. You might want to go through and see if there's some way you want to sort your verbatims. You might be able to do it. One that's been coming in handy for those of us that have those. Sometimes we have questions where we can only apply 3 codes, or maybe we can only apply 1 code. You can sort your verbatims by number of codes applied. So those verbatims with the most codes applied will be sorted to the top. So if I hit search again, it'll sort, well, I don't know that I have any more than 1 code applied here. We'll see. Oh, I sorted them. They're oh, it was reverse. Got it. So the ones with the most codes applied are sorted to the bottom. If I hit reverse sort and hit it, the ones with the most code applied would be at the top. I always have a tough time wrapping my head around that one. There we go. So again, if this were a single mention, I would see the guys that were kind of breaking the rule at the top. All right. So that is filtering and sorting. We've already talked about the shared code book questions. The final thing here is our word list. And the word list can come in handy. Notice that there is an options tab, or an options. There are options for our word list. You can actually type in words to ignore here, and it does stick. So if I wanted to ignore all of these words, I could do that. It is bringing up words with a minimum count of 2 right now. And when I hit update, it'll take those words out. The cool thing about the word list is I can click on a word in the word list, and it becomes kind of a search for me. So I can see all the responses that have hair, and hair is highlighted in red as part of a regular expression or hyperlinked. Again, the word list options, you can select words from your verbatim, your translation, your transcription, your notes. You can do all responses, coded responses, or uncoded responses. You can sort it by count or word. It's a pretty powerful tool if you're going into a brand new project without a code book. You can kind of get in, quickly get a glance at what words are coming up the most often, and start going through it. Okay. So that is the response pane toolbar. And Julie, have any? I guess I'll open the floor for any questions that might have come up, or anything we need to see again. Or Julie or Antoine, if there's any suggestions on something else to show, just let me know.
Okay. Questions come up about scanned paper studies and how they would look. Do you have any examples of scanned images to show, Laura?
No, I don't. Okay. But we can take a note. I can do a session with that person and anybody else that would like to see the scanned images here. That's something that we can set up. I don't have that in my. I don't think I have. No, I don't have that in my webinar study today.
But the idea is that you can code.
Oh, absolutely.
Images, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Images or voice recordings. We have both going on today across, with multiple companies. The images, you get the link to the image. You can show the image, and with voice recordings, it plugs into our J player and it automatically plays. It'll play the voice recordings for you as well. So what we'll have to do, Julie, I have a multimedia video that I can share with Anya and anybody else who is interested in that.
Okay. There's a comment about the hair, the words "the hair" being in red. Do you want to comment on why that is? Over here in the responses.
Well, it's because when I clicked on the word, in this case I'll click on product, it's highlighting the word that that I searched for. And that's why the words are highlighted in red.
Okay, that's fine. If anybody has any other questions, please type them in the the chat window. Okay, she wants to know how do you get it black again after you've done your search.
You do a new search. Or you do a search that doesn't contain the word hair. So you remove hair from your search. How about that? Okay.
Okay. All right. There was a question about the word list. Can you go over just the basic purpose of the word list again?
The word list brings up all of the words that are in this case, I've got it set to bring up all the words in my verbatim, and then bringing up all responses. I could say, you know what, I just want to see the words in my uncoded responses, and I'm sorting it by count. So it's just giving me a count. It's telling me I've got 62, hair comes up 62 times in my responses, or in 3.8%. 3.8% of the words are hair. And when I click on hair, it brings up those responses that have the word hair in it. Now, sometimes hair might appear more than once, so there are only 51 responses here, but hair will appear 62 times in these 51 responses. This is just to give us an idea of what's in our verbatims. It's kind of a first glance if you don't have a code book, and maybe you're not familiar with this study, or it's a new study. You can quickly see what's coming up and what people are talking about, what words they're saying most often. And it is a search. I mean, you can actually search for those words and see what they're saying about the product, or what they're saying about hair, or what they're saying about static. It's just an interactive word list that will tell you a little more about your data prior to creating your code book or prior to coding. Is that a good purpose, Julie?
Oh, yeah, no, that is. That's okay. Well, you know, somebody might not have used it before and just wondered.
Got it.
Okay. All right. The hyperlink in the responses. How do you add those?
Okay. So the hyperlink in responses, and we're going to be talking about regular expressions in a webinar coming up, but you'll notice that I can actually turn on my regular expressions here, okay? And let me actually show you. So static right now is not part of any of my hyperlinks. But let me go in here and let me change my code properties. Let me add the word static. Okay? So I added the word static. Let me search again. And now you'll notice that the word static is no longer red, but it is underlined. Okay? It is now a hyperlink to apply the code, not control, eliminate static. So the idea is that if there's some word that says, you know, you would always apply this code, or this, I want you to suggest this code when we come upon the word, and it doesn't even have to be a whole word. In this case, I put in G-R-E-A-S, so if somebody says grease or greasy, or something like that, it would suggest that code. And so now when I click on that hyperlink, it automatically brings up all the responses that met that search criteria. And now greasy is a hyperlink there for me. Okay? So the hyperlinks exist by editing our codes, right? Click on a code properties, there's a regular expression field. This regular expression field are the rules for the hyperlink, or the search for the hyperlink. So yes, that's what allows us to do our hyperlink coding. Anything else?
No, Laura, I think that's it.
Cool. All right. Well, again, thanks everyone for your time today. I'm really grateful that you take the time to learn more about Ascribe Coder. I hope that you will attend some of the other webinars and let us know when you're going into review responses and why, when you're using Ascribe Coder and why, and when you have to use that at the code book and why. And again, you can send those responses to myself, Julie, to support. We look forward to all the feedback and we welcome it. Thank you so much and have a great day.